Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So just last Wednesday, we had a whole bunch of very important releases from Marvel Comics, one of those of course including the brand new kickoff to the new X-Men event, Inferno, issue number 1. So this is only going to be a 4-issue miniseries, but it's a very big X-Men whole Marvel Universe changing event, possibly. So it's written by Jonathan Hickman, of course, and the most important thing about this miniseries is that it's the final X-Men story by Jonathan Hickman. Hickman has been the main guy behind all of the X-Men comics for the last couple years at this point, with the release of House of X and Powers of 10 in July of, I think, 2019. Now it's 2021, and he's wrapping everything up. The reason that Hickman is leaving Marvel is because he's going to be working for Substack Comics. I won't get too much into it. I did make a whole video regarding Substack if you want to check that video out. But I'm glad that we're getting this 4-issue huge finale to Inferno. Every single issue of this miniseries is going to have a different artist. The first one here is kicking it off with Valerio Schiti, who's also doing the last issue, and each issue is $6. You get like over 40 pages of content in this first issue. I'm not sure if that's going to carry on to the other 3, but I love this issue just to get that out of the way. I thought it was really good, the storytelling, the huge twists and turns that we saw throughout. For this first issue, I will be getting into spoilers in the latter half of this video, where I'll pull the issue off the stand and refresh my memory on everything, and get into the entire plot and everything, so fair warning, if you want to read this issue or go pick it up at your LCS, before you watch the video, go ahead and do that right now so you don't get spoiled. Overall, not that many things actually did happen in this issue. We just saw a whole bunch of different perspectives and little snippets of life, as well as some big shocks and twists though, but we just saw all of these different big players in Hickman's run, like Orcus, like of course just Krakoa in general. It all started in House of X and Powers of 10, which is where Hickman introduced Krakoa, which is this sanctuary that Charles Xavier, Magneto, and Moira McTaggart all built from scratch so that the mutants could have, you know, a safe place and a home. They became the richest nation after a while, and they've been expanding more and more, taking over Mars. Throughout his run, we've also seen a lot of threats who have been emerging. We've seen a focus on Mystique and her long dead wife, whose name is Destiny. She's been trying to get the X-Men and the Five to resurrect Destiny for the longest time. In Krakoa, they have resurrection protocols, which just to make it so that any mutant that dies can be resurrected. They come out of these weird eggs through a procedure where a whole bunch of different mutants use their powers all together. And Magneto and Professor X, who are like the main guys behind Krakoa, sort of the leaders, have been sending Mystique on all of these like suicide missions, basically, really deadly missions where she's going into the deep of all of their villains, all of these crazy stations and anti-mutant people that have been set up throughout these last couple years of X-Men, and she's come back and asked, okay, now can I resurrect Destiny? That's been the deal the whole time. They keep on not letting her do it though, so they're being pretty shady, but we find out why they're not letting her resurrect Destiny in this issue. It's a very good reason. But we also see the Orcus Station, which is this anti-mutant program. They're well funded. They've got this like crazy ring station around the sun, and they are trying to develop some way to wipe out the whole mutant race. They recently successfully were able to enable Nimrod, which is this crazy like android, overpowered robot type of thing. Mostly this issue, we just see both sides' points of view. We see the Orcus Station, these weird like monkey human hybrid creatures trying to make alliances with other people, trying to figure out Krakoan tech. Krakoa has continued to send out mutants to the Orcus Station around the sun to try to infiltrate them, to try to take everything down, but they haven't been successful. It's clear that the Orcus Station is a threat, and they're trying to figure out how to take it down. So for the first time in a long time in this issue, we see Magneto and Professor X communicating with Moira McTaggart. She's a very special kind of mutant. Her mutant power is basically that she is resurrected every time she dies. I don't know exactly the specifics on how this works, but from what I've read in Jonathan Hickman's X-Men, it seems like she just relived the same timeline over and over again. So the issue opens up with just some little fragments of both sides' points of view, like I was talking about earlier. We see the X-Force team, the 3 sort of like Strike Force mutants, which are Kid, Omega, Wolverine, and Domino, going into the Orcus Station through the Krakoan gate that Mystique planted there on one of her missions way back in like X-Men number 6 or something a long time ago, and they're just trying to cause chaos, figure out some intel, or I don't know exactly what they're their plan was, but it totally goes wrong. They're immediately wiped out by Nimrod, and then we flash way backwards in time, if you can call it that, to one of Moira McTaggart's previous lives. Like I said, I don't know exactly how her mutant power works, but it seems like she's reliving the same timeline, the main Marvel timeline, over and over again and making different decisions. But in this third life, she has become a scientist to try to cure the mutant condition, to try to cure herself. It's unclear what her motives are in doing that, sort of like wiping out her own kind, if you can call it that. But we see Mystique and Destiny both being together at this time, Destiny still being alive, confronting her. She's like popping open the champagne, congratulating her colleagues on finally developing this cure. Suddenly the whole building blows up, and Mystique and Destiny step in. They've got Moira McTaggart tied to a chair and trapped, and they're basically interrogating her. They're asking her why she wanted to do this, and telling her, we are going to kill you at the end of this, because we don't want the secrets to get out about this cure, and they're not going to. But I think the special thing about this scene is that we had never seen this death before. In the Powers of X miniseries, which was at the beginning of Hickman's run, that one was the one that focused on like the past, present, and future of Krakoa, the X-Men, the resurrection protocols, and everything, and we saw pretty much every single one of Moira's deaths. But this is one that wasn't explored, so we see that happen with Destiny and Mystique having taken her down. Now she's in her 10th life in the present day after building Krakoa, and she still remembers that. Then in the next scene of the issue, we switch back to the Orcus station, see what they're up to. It turns out that they've got some stations actually on Earth. They're not only operating in that ring station around the sun, that's just where the main crew is, where they're developing Nimrod and everything else, but they've also got a station in Terra Verde, this country that's been against Krakoa with these plant people. That whole story arc has been going on in X-Force, and we see this like with these really weird gorilla human hybrids that are smart, I guess. I don't know if they've appeared before, I don't know if they're main characters of any older X-Men stuff, but they're the scientific brains behind Orcus. These monkeys are just trying to figure out some technical difficulties that they're having. They're monitoring Krakoa at all times. They've got these trackers on the Krakoan gates that allow only mutants to teleport from one place on Earth to another place on Earth. And then back on Krakoa, we see Sage, who's like the brains behind Krakoa, the one who's always operating the computers in the background, and she's one of the heads of the X-Force division. She's saying, okay, they know where we are. They figured out the secret that we're keeping in the gates. Now we got to get ready for their strike team to come. So that was a cliffhanger left. We know that Orcus is sending people to Krakoa at some point, probably in the next couple issues, but that thread is left about halfway through the issue here. And then for most of the rest of the contents of this issue, it's mostly like government stuff in Krakoa, which can still be really interesting. That's pretty much where the actual action of the comic ends, but you never expect like that many crazy action scenes from Hickman anyways. The exciting stuff is this nation building stuff, the world building stuff. But we see Professor X and Magneto visiting Moira McTaggart in her no place, which is this like bubble that she has under the seas of Krakoa, where she's been hidden away for whatever reason since Krakoa was fully built. That's just kind of her sanctuary that she's been staying in, not exactly like being a big part of the island anymore. They're asking her questions about Orcus because they're getting desperate. They've been sending the X-Force over. X-Force has been getting killed over and over again by Nimrod. They don't know how to stop them. And Moira tells them that there's two main threats that they need to be aware of if they're ever going to stop Orcus, if they have any hope for mutant kind living. Things are getting very dire here. All the stuff that Hickman has built up in this whole run could come down to a close in the Inferno event. She tells them that Destiny cannot be resurrected. Destiny has been dead for a long time, Mystique's old wife, and Mystique's only motive right now is to resurrect her. So they're saying that Mystique needs to be terminated from the Quiet Council, the ring of people that makes the decisions for Krakoa, and Nimrod must be stopped. The whole orchestration in general obviously does need to be stopped. Those are the two things that they need to deal with if they have any hope. So that's probably going to be the main plot of the rest of this miniseries. But then in the final scene, this is the most important part of the issue by far. For this final scene, we see that Quiet Council meeting. Mystique is still on the team because they haven't terminated her yet. They've just gotten that advice to do it from Moira McTaggart, and they're still planning on doing that. Magneto and Professor Xavier are talking about how they need to fill in some new seats because people have died in the Ten of Swords event. Cyclops is gone now, so they need some more decision makers. Magneto's thinking about stepping down. Some definitely political stuff going on in the Quiet Council right now, but we get a really big reveal that could mean really bad things for the future of Krakoa. Mystique is saying, oh, we don't need to do a whole voting system. I've got somebody who can replace a member of the Quiet Council right now. Mystique looks really happy, like she's tricked them, like she's finally gotten what she wanted, because she has. We see all of the different different Quiet Council members' reactions, because the person that Mystique has brought to the Quiet Council is Destiny. Somehow she's been resurrected. We never saw that happen. We never saw Magneto and Professor Xavier approve it, but somehow the Five have resurrected Destiny. I'm not even that familiar with the Destiny character as a whole, but this still gave me goosebumps, because this could mean really bad things. That was one of the only things that the X-Men needed to prevent in order to survive. So this is just a story about survival, a story about Orchis and Destiny versus Krakoa in this final 4-issue miniseries by Jonathan Hickman to wrap up his whole run on X-Men. Now finally Hickman, in these last couple issues of his run, is getting to the core of everything he's been building up this whole time. Who knows if Orchis will be defeated by the end of it, who knows what's going to happen with Destiny, but I am no doubt picking up the next issue, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys about it as these issues release. But as for my final rating of this issue, I give you guys something out of 10 as just, a final rating of the entire issue as a whole. I loved the writing. It was really well done. The art by Valerio Schiti was really good. I did enjoy it for the most part. I think it wasn't like his very best work, because it did seem like he was trying to emulate the drawing style of Pepe Larraz or R.B. Silva, who did the original House of X and Powers of 10 in 2019, which would make sense because this is the last story from Jonathan Hickman. So good artwork, good writing. My final rating of this issue, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. So I can't wait to see where the story goes. I'm really excited about this event, and I think it's going to be pretty exciting. Who knows how the ending is going to go, though, how everything is going to turn out, and what's going to happen after Hickman's run ends. So if you got some good information from this video, or if you enjoyed it at all, make sure to hit that subscribe button. That's the big red button, which is sitting right below this video. You can also hit the notifications bell, which is sitting right next to it. You'll be notified every single time I post a new video if you don't want to miss any. So that's everything from me for today. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Bye, guys.